In today's video, we jump all the way back to 1983 to investigate the Star Wars Return of the Jedi Battle at Sarlacc's Pit 3D miniatures game. Well, hi folks, and welcome to the channel. I'm Lee, your old hammered host. I'm here with Lynn.
Hello.
And I guess that makes you the co-host.
I guess it does.
So like many of you out there, Lynn and I have been watching the Book of Boba Fett on Disney+, which has reintroduced audiences to the dreaded Sarlacc of Tatooine. So today we're going to take a trip back to 1983 and have a little tabletop nostalgia and some Star Wars nostalgia. So Lynn, do you know what we have here in this box with all the scribbles on it?
The Sarlacc's Pit.
It is the Parker Brothers Star Wars Return of the Jedi Battle at Sarlacc's Pit game, and it is sort of a three-dimensional miniatures-based board game. I remember back in the early Star Wars days, I had the Escape from the Death Star game, which was kind of a board game with little cardboard stand-ups for all your favorite heroes. But we didn't have this one. This one came out in 1983, the same year as Return of the Jedi, and also, coincidentally, the same year that Warhammer First Edition was released. I believe that was in 1983, the first edition of Warhammer Fantasy. So that was a banner year. But anyway, in honor of the Book of Boba Fett, I thought we would take a look at this. Now, before we get too far along, let's just take a moment to acknowledge some of the perhaps dubious design decisions that Parker Brothers signed off on in the development of this game. There might very well be some comedic material in here, but I ask that you just chuckle to yourself. Let's keep it out of the comment section because we strive to be a family show. So thank you very much for that. Here's kind of a preview of what we'll see inside. So there is a skiff, that's Jabba's skiff. There's the Sarlacc pit, and then you have all these little Star Wars miniatures, and it's kind of a card-based game. Now, we picked this up, I don't know if you remember, Lynn, 4 or 5 years ago, certainly pre-pandemic. It was the day after Thanksgiving. We were driving through some little town in Iowa that had sort of a Main Street antique district. And we stopped, and there was a store there, kind of an old brick store. And apparently this guy was only open a couple days out of the year. He was mostly a online business. And so he opened up his store for people shopping the day after Thanksgiving. And so we went in there, and it was full of old Star Wars stuff and all kinds of collectibles. And we picked this up, and he charged $12 for it because he said his kids had been playing with it and they had scribbled on it, and he thought most of the parts were intact, but he couldn't be sure. And so I got this for $12. And then when I got home, I looked it up on eBay, and you could get a brand new shrink-wrapped copy for about $25. So I thought, oh, I didn't really get that good of a deal. But just the other day I looked, and I think the Book of Boba Fett and some of the new Star Wars stuff on Disney has increased the interest in Sarlacc pits. And so now if you go on eBay or elsewhere and try to find a shrink-wrapped copy, it is considerably more expensive, though the used copies are still around. But anyway, just for the fun of it, just for grins, as they say, we are going to open this up and assemble the skiff and the Sarlacc's pit and maybe show people how the game is played.
Sounds good to me.
So just for fun. All right, so let's see what's in here. Going way back to 1983. So when I opened this up after we got it, I noticed that there were some broken parts. So I went on eBay and back a couple of years ago actually purchased some replacement parts, which I think are more expensive now. So I have more parts than I need. I got 2 Jabbas and a bunch of those Gamorrean guards, and hopefully some of the heroes with non-broken guns. So we'll take a look at those. But there's the Sarlacc's pit. There's the skiff right there. There's all these little plastic guys, and then cards. And here are the rules. So it is the Battle at Sarlacc's Pit for 2 to 4 players, ages 7 to 12. So I don't know.
We fit right in there.
We fit right in. And there's some of the characters you're going to see. Luke Skywalker, Han Solo, Princess Leia, Chewbacca, the Gamorrean guards, there's a bunch of those, Boba Fett, Nikto, I don't remember him, and Jabba the Hutt. And that is a smaller version of Jabba the Hutt than we might have seen in the movies. And I'm sure that was just for the practicality of making little plastic pieces.
And fitting them on the skiff.
And fitting them on the skiff, that's right. So there are the rules, not that complex. And actually most of the rule sheet is devoted to assembly instructions for the skiff and the Sarlacc's pit. And if I remember correctly, when I tried to assemble this a few years ago, I was missing some parts, or some parts were torn, and I had to find a replacement. And so I actually took some cardboard and I think fabricated a replacement. So we'll see how successful I was at that. So here's all of our pieces for the skiff and the pit. And before we get into assembly of that, let's take a look at the plastic figures that come with the set. Now, granted, they're kind of funny looking, but they are board game components from the 1980s, and I'm sure kids use these for a lot of Star Wars adventures outside of the game. Okay, so I thought I had a complete set, but apparently I don't. So Luke Skywalker back here is still recovering from his battle with Darth Vader in the previous movie. So he is kind of incapacitated. He needs some robot feet. But here we have Chewbacca. I think this is Princess Leia. That certainly looks like a Han Solo there. Here is Jabba the Hutt, but he is just a little grub at this point. He's not a full-grown Jabba yet, it doesn't appear. And there is Boba Fett, Nikto, and a bunch of the Gamoran guards. So yeah, this is the menagerie we're going to need to play Battle at the Sarlacc's Pit. So I guess we will take a moment and assemble our skiff and our pit, set these guys on the board, and maybe even run through a couple of sample turns so folks out there can get a sense of what Star Wars tabletop gaming looked like way back in 1983. Okay, we've set up the board. We are playing a two-person game, so we have Han Solo and Chewbacca. They're in the holding cell. We have the 10 Gamorrean guards. We have Boba Fett there, we have Nikto there, and here is the mighty Jabba the Hutt at the end of the skiff. So the name of the game is to get the most Jedi points possible. So even though Han Solo and Chewbacca are in prison right now, they are going to be keeping score. So every Gamorrean guard that someone knocks into the Sarlacc's pit is 1 point. Then Nikto, I think, is worth 2. Boba Fett's worth 2. And the mighty Jabba is worth 4. So we're going to be keeping score as we knock our enemies into the pit. We each start with 4 cards, and we always have 4 cards at the end of the turn. So if we are short a card or 2, we draw cards. And these are my cards in my deck. So Han Solo is going to play a force card. So that means he can move up to 6 spaces.
Yes.
So he's going to go 1, 2, and he is going to challenge that Gamorrean guard. And so he does so by drawing a card, correct?
Yep, draw the top card from the draw pile.
He draws the top card from the draw pile. It is a 5, that's a number card, and if you draw a number card or a force card, you're successful, correct?
Yep.
So a Gamorrean guard goes into the pit.
Then move your hero to the space the guard occupied. Collect a Jedi point card equal to the value of the guard.
Okay, so Han Solo gets 1 Jedi card.
And you cannot defeat Nikito or Boba Fett until all the Gamorrean guards are defeated.
Right. Okay, that card is discarded. Now Lynn plays a card.
I will move 4.
Okay, you're playing a 4. You have to move...
1, 2, 3, 4.
Right. You have to move exactly 4, but you can kind of backtrack to get to that number. So you draw a card for the guard.
I got a 5.
You got a 5, and he goes into the pit.
And I get a card.
So you get a Gamorrean guard card. That's 1 Jedi point. I draw a card, so I have 4 in my deck.
And I draw a card, so I have 4 in my deck.
So Han Solo is going to play a 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He draws a card. That's a 6. Bink. And another Gamorrean guard goes into the pit. Now Lynn goes.
Okay, I got a 4.
Playing a 4.
1, 2, 3, 4.
All right. Draw a card.
A 3.
You got a 3.
He goes into the Sarlacc
Bink.
pit.
He goes into the Sarlacc's pit. I think you know how this goes. So not a terribly complex game. There are some little wrinkles in here, like there's a card for changing places with any player. If I played that, then Chewbacca and Han Solo would swap. There's a move to any empty space card. There's a take a force card from any player. So far our combat has been pretty easy because we've drawn force cards or number cards, which is what you need to throw someone in the pit. But you could also draw a Jabba the Hutt card or a direction card. If that was the case when you were in combat, then your player would go back to the detention cell. And if you do the Jabba the Hutt card, he actually moves 1 square. So he kind of moves around. So that's pretty much the game. No overly complex combat mechanics here, no dice rolling, no record keeping. But I'm sure children of the 80s got a big kick out of it because, hey, it's Star Wars. And three-dimensional with minis. And why not enjoy the sadistic pleasures of tossing your enemies into the pit of a giant sand monster? All right, that is kind of satisfying.
It is.
And down in the pit they go.
And there they are in the pit.
And there they are. But anyway, that is the Battle at Sarlacc's Pit.
Nice and easy.
Well, yeah, it's a kid's game, right?
Well, I like easy. And plus, it's so satisfying to dump them into the pit. It's just satisfying.
Oh no, Han, don't step back. All right, folks, we hope you enjoyed this quick trip down memory lane back to the magical year of 1983. And we'll be back before too long with some serious adult miniatures game because there's a big difference between our miniatures and these little plastic toys.
If you say so.
Okay, that's a wrap for today. Thanks very much for watching. We'll see you next time.